All right, welcome back. We are MAPD724 in the winter 2022 semester at Centennial, and it's week 11 of our broadcast and time together. Let's take a look at where we're sitting. We're sitting at week 11. This week, we're talking about facial recognition and how to highlight faces. So there's two parts of the app that you guys are going to build this week. One part is recognition, that it's a face, and the other one is highlighting features of the face, or landmarks, is what we call them. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. Last week what we did was we did Core ML. You guys did some amazing, I'm quite happy with some of the images people took and everything else, some really funny ones, images of animals, images of sports cars, and a bunch of stuff that you guys did. Most of you did it, which is great. And that's the kind of stuff I'd like to see, like you practicing some of these things is very interesting. I think the machine learning stuff and the facial recognition stuff, it's all leading edge stuff that you can use in your app. So it's really kind of neat. And there's lots of little tiny applications that you can use as well. So that's pretty cool too. So this week, what we're doing is we're talking about vision and facial recognition. The vision framework kind of works together with the facial recognition, which is, again, still part of machine learning. It's another way of doing it. What we do is we use something called landmarks that we're going to be talking about in a second. Stuff that is due. So again, assignment 1, part 1, you guys submitted. Thank you very much for that. Assignment 2, part 2, which is it's due not next week. Next week is week 12, but the week after, right? And that is Sunday, April 17th, second last, or pretty much the last Sunday of the semester is when this is due. And then right after that, assignment 2, part 3, which is the final presentation that you're going to be doing in class on the Wednesday, the 20th. That is also something I'm looking forward to seeing as well. So that is assignment 2, part 2, and assignment 2, part 3 still up there. You should be working on that now with you and your team. In class exercise 9, the stuff that you're doing today is due on Sunday at midnight. So again, giving you the maximum amount of time to get it done. So just putting my hand out there. Any questions, concerns, or anything else like that so far? Again, thank you for submitting your assignment 2, part 1. That's good. Again, I think most groups did it on time, so that's fantastic for that one. All right, so the vision framework, vision and facial recognition. What is that, and what is this about? So again, we talked about Core ML the last time, and there's other machine learning and artificial intelligence, frameworks that we don't need a trained ML model. We don't need to do that. And we can simply use the vision framework that can recognize objects in pictures, such as faces or text, which is pretty cool. So again, some really great stuff about facial recognition. Again, it's part of the machine learning and artificial intelligence models that are out there right now. Can anyone tell me where machine learning can go bad with facial recognition, and where it can be actually a bad thing, not a good thing? What are your thoughts? You think there's potentially a bad reason or a reason not to use or to limit how facial recognition is being used today? What are your thoughts on that before we move on to the actual technology? Saif says privacy. Absolutely, I think that is the case. From what I've been reading and the research that I've been doing is China is a big user of facial recognition technology, and one of the biggest challenges with that is, it's very good at detecting and isolating faces, like who you are and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty powerful technology. Now, there are ways of, kind of going against it. And there are different kinds of easy ways to fool facial recognition technology out there. Some of them is wearing like glasses. Certain glasses can fool the the image processor. And for example, putting on a pair of glasses and they have a certain pattern. Putting on a mask can fool a facial recognition algorithm. And there's different kinds of adversarial methods that you can use to avoid using facial recognition, or for facial recognition to actually work on you. You can also fool facial recognition with images of other people, right? Which is kind of interesting. So it's not foolproof. Privacy is definitely one thing, but security is the other thing. We trust that we can use a kind of a facial unlock, facial recognition to detect your face and then unlock and then buy apps and all that kind of stuff. But it's not impossible for somebody who is a malicious user to duplicate some of the landmarks that are on your face on a mask or some kind of image, and that your phone will actually open for it. So it's kind of interesting. Now it takes a little bit of effort. I'm not going to lie. It's not impossible to it's quite difficult to use. But the thing is with it, facial recognition, there's both parts of it. The part is that the technology is getting better. So it's starting to recognize things like adversarial techniques to try and stop facial recognition from working, right? And how does it work? Well, it can identify things like noses, mouths, and eyes. That's the first thing it does. Those shapes, basic shapes that all humans have, right? We have, most people anyway, have those things in about the right position, the same kind of position. Once we start recognizing those areas, then what ends up happening is we're like, okay, there's a face. Okay, now that's the first thing. So we have a face. Now, is that the face that we're looking at? And it looks like a bunch of data points that are on your face that it uses to kind of calibrate the facial recognition software to detect that it's actually you. Okay, so again, for most simple applications, logging into your phone, logging into your computer, those kind of things, facial recognition is pretty good. But can it be fooled? It can, right? So that's why, going back to what Saif said, one thing is people can copy your face, and with a careful construction of a mask, like an actual mask that takes up your entire face, they can get access to your information, which is pretty bad. But what it actually does is not just for the vision framework. It doesn't only just recognize faces, but it can also recognize text. So it takes the glyphs that are written down and it actually can read them and convert them into actual text. So you can take an image or picture of some text, and then it converts them to actual things that you can do with it. So it converts it back. So there's some things that work better than other. So again, black text against a white background or white text on a dark background is good. So things that have a high contrast so that it's easily discernible between the background. If it's a very busy background with text, it has more challenge trying to recognize that it's text. And again, that's going to get better and better as things go on. So a couple of apps that you're going to make today, or a couple of features that the app is going to have for this week. One is you're going to remake the facial recognition app. What I'd like you to do to make it interesting, because what I've done with the facial recognition app is I've included a couple of people, some famous people that I've included, right? A few famous people. Some celebrities, right? What I'd like you to do is not use this one, but pick your own. So pick some of your own images. One of them should be you. Let's see if it recognizes your face. Right now, one of the things it has challenges with, and I want you to see if it's for you too, is people of color in general. It has trouble identifying. Actually, images in general are bad with people of color. So if you're, let's see if it recognizes your face. So one of the images, if you're going to use multiple images like this, should be yours, okay? That's what I'm asking you to do. And you might as well, because it's fun to do anyway, right? So that's one thing you're going to do. You're going to load your image onto the simulator. And then what you're going to do is, the first part is it's going to recognize that there's a face. The second part, so this is the first part, where you actually have a rectangle that draws around the face and saying, hey, there's a face, right? And the way it does that is, again, it uses landmarks, your cheeks, your eyes, different pieces that do that. The second thing that this app does is it actually it can actually identify the contour of the face. So can draw an outline around the contour of the face, the nose and the nose crest, right? The inner and outer lips, as well as eye, eyebrow, pupil, all that stuff, and the median line of the face as well. And this is really great because, again, it gives you more information when it comes to landmark. Take a look at Apple's website for the vision framework when it comes to, the vision network face landmark and how it works. Okay, it's really kind of interesting how it works. So the second part of the app is you identifying landmarks. You're adjusting the app from the first version to the second version, and the second version is actually going to draw. And it's kind of hard to see here. I'm going to zoom in here, but you can kind of see what it does. When I was doing this one, it was kind of neat. It actually draws, kind of a line around the face. It identifies noses and it identifies eyes and lips. That's what it kind of does. So take a look for yours. If it works for you, it should do the same thing. So that's the second part of the app. So please take an image of both. Place the image of the first part, image, and then the second part when you do your, kind of contour and stuff like that. Okay, so that's really what you're doing this week. So how can you use this thing? What is a good outcome? What's the outcome of facial recognition? It's not just for security, but it can also be used for other kinds of applications as well, right? So we can use it for avatars, and Apple does that with their different avatars that you can use the data points and remap your face onto an avatar's face. Okay, so this is something that can be done, and it can be done in real time. I know that there's a lot of apps out there that'll do it for you for fun, but if you think about this, this is potentially what it's going to be like when we are on VR in the metaverse, right? So one thing that we can do, and again, there's a lot of money being kind of like poured into things like the metaverse and how your avatar is going to appear in virtual reality and augmented reality, as an example. And sure, you can map to your own face, right? Which is, the simplest way to do it. But if you want, and what if you wanted to map to a face to be private? That's the other way around, right? Where you want to kind of be another person. That's perfectly possible. People also use facial recognition technology and machine learning, to remap actors' faces. And a recent example of that was Disney's Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. Anybody? So what they did was they brought Luke Skywalker back, again, and they kind of used a machine model, and they did performance capture, right, as well as facial recognition to kind of map the actor's face on top of the mesh, which is kind of a really neat idea to do. This kind of technology was used in Marvel when they made the Avengers movies and all that kind of stuff. All the creatures and Thanos and all those kind of things, performance capture. It's been used for a long time, and so now imagine that's been done with a lot of cameras, but imagine as we go forward, it can be done with your phone. It can be done with other devices as well. So you can bring yourself into the metaverse or in a virtual reality, as an example, without actually it being you. It's going to be a representation of you, but it's just an avatar, and it's going to, act like you. It's going to respond like you. It's kind of uncanny, to be honest with you. I've seen some people who use an avatar. One of my professors, a colleague of mine as well, he taught his entire class with an avatar, which is kind of interesting. And it was kind of an anime image of himself, which is really wacky. It was like really bizarre and uncanny. Everything from eye movements to mouth movements, head movements, emotions, all that kind of stuff, which is kind of very interesting. So that's one application. The other application is emotion detection, which is something that they've been talking about for a long time, right? So again, going back to Saif's comment about privacy, imagine if you are you're searching for something to buy on Amazon. And as you're looking, at what you're buying, you're showing emotion on your face. You're happy, sad, indifferent, bored, whatever. That's the other thing that they're doing. They're actually capturing that information, and then if you are seeming excited or you're focusing, you're dwelling, you're looking at an image for a bit of time, they're going to show you more and more of those kinds of images, things that you're interested in looking at. Instagram does that right now. If you actually take a look at Instagram and you're looking at images that you're, the same kind of images over and over again, what ends up happening is that it's going to show you more of the same. So, example, if you're someone who really likes, I don't know, working out, exercise, that kind of stuff, and then you surf through, maybe you're talking about it because Facebook's constantly listening too, it's going to start coming up. And the more of those images you see and the more you look at them, the more you're going to get, which is how it happens. You'll get actually advertising for gym equipment and, all this other stuff. Targeted marketing is another way they can use facial recognition. They can also use facial recognition. There's some pretty scary stuff out there where they can use facial recognition to not just to identify you, but also to start to do targeted marketing on the street. So you're kind of walking and they identify who you are, as an example, and they start showing you ads in augmented reality, which is what they're planning. As you're walking by a store, they'll show you stuff that's specifically for you. They'll even show you your avatar. That's the idea behind it. Your avatar with the new clothes that they've come up with. So all these kinds of stuff are things that they can do with facial recognition. And it can be very scary. Again, it can be used for security. It can be compromising to you, but it can also be quite neat when it comes to some of the things that you can do. One of the things we always want to do is kind of make, kind of software more usable, right? So things like logging into your computer, which already happens with facial recognition. We can take it to the next level when it comes to attending a meeting. Like, for example, you're attending a Zoom meeting and you're logging in on someone else's computer. Well, they can recognize if it's them, if it's you, if you're allowed to come in to the meeting. So less meeting bombing and all that kind of stuff. Those kind of things. There's a lot of things, a lot of little applications that people are thinking about. And most of them are things like avatars, things that you're going to protect your identity, not just, give away your identity, which is kind of an interesting thing. So that's facial recognition in a nutshell. Lots of little applications, and it's all bundled for you in your iOS framework for the vision framework and the facial recognition framework. Your challenge is to use your own image and play around with it. Try and change the colors around. I mean, I've used basic greens and those kind of things, but you can use whatever image you want and try and experiment. Try and think about, recognizing other features. There's a ton of information up on the developer framework on, to try and see what you can do. So take a look at this. I'm adding lines using facial points, right? Which are kind of neat. So again, it's basically detecting the facial landmarks, and for each facial landmark region in the facial landmarks, you get an array of points, and those array of points can be used, to create, to draw lines from one landmark to the other. So very, very interesting the way it works. Take a look when you have a chance. All right, so that's the app for this week. Any questions around the stuff that you're making? Last week, by the way, I know that I'm really, like I said, really super happy that you guys were able to do that app, because I know that Walter was indicating that one of the pieces was broken. I replaced it. Please check to see if there's anything that's missing this week. If there is, I've got all the code for you and everything else. But again, it's not just me giving you the code and you regurgitating back out. That's not the exercise. The exercise is try it out. See what you can come up with it. Does it make any sense? Is it something that you could use potentially in a future app? That's the kind of stuff that I want you guys to think about. Okay. Any questions at all? You guys are really quiet tonight. So yeah, so let's go back and talk about the stuff that's due. So again, ICE 9 this Sunday, assignment 2 part 2. This is the persistent data piece. Some people did it the other way around. I'm fine with it. But the persistent data piece is due not next week, but the week after. And that's your second app that you're making this semester. All right. So, and then finally, your final presentation. So that's really what's due. And so this is your checkpoint this week. Any questions before we go? I can also hang back for anyone who wants to show me anything. If you want to show me your app from assignment 2, I can hang back. We can take a look at that together. Anything else you want to do as well. You guys there? Okay, I'm going to stop recording.